WKYT Studios in Lexington, this is Kentucky Newsmakers with Bill Bryant.
Good morning from WKYT News. We hope you're enjoying your weekend. Through the magic of television and his willingness to keep an aggressive schedule, Governor Steve Beshear is managing to be two places at once today. We taped this interview on Friday before he left for an economic development trip to Germany and Sweden. He'll be talking about Kentucky's role in the global auto industry and about the 170 European companies operating in the Bluegrass state. While he's away, the state legislature will get down to work in starting to craft new laws for the Commonwealth. Seems to be some momentum now for a heroin bill. Overdoses have apparently tripled since last year when lawmakers failed to act on that issue. Governor Beshear has called for a statewide smoking ban, a dating violence bill, and he's also voiced support for a local option sales tax that would give cities and counties a chance to fund some special projects. This week he announced a new effort to get going on replacing the Brent Spence Bridge in northern Kentucky. The governor's now in his last year in office. He knows his legacy will include managing Kentucky through a tough recession and several natural disasters, but he also hopes a more diverse economy will be part of what people give him credit for and remember him for. Governor Steve Beshear, good to come in today, and we thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And again, as I said, I know you're busy right now getting ready to go. Let's talk about this trip first off. You're going off to Europe, responding to an invitation and hoping to get some things done while you're there.
Well, Bill, we've been very successful over the last 7 years with what we call foreign direct investment. That is attracting investment from foreign companies all around the world to come here, invest, hire Kentuckians, build facilities, and we've had a tremendous amount of activity, a very successful activity. And part of that is building the relationships, going and seeing these people in their home areas and in their offices and telling them about Kentucky and why they should be here in Kentucky and our business environment and how friendly it is. And that's been successful. This is another one of those trips where we will be meeting with companies in Sweden as well as in Germany, doing that same thing. And at the same time, I've been invited to speak to an international automobile conference. CEOs from all around the world from automobile companies will be there. It's a great time to continue to put Kentucky on the global picture and make sure they understand that Kentucky's part of this global operation when it comes to automobiles. And you know, we're the third largest producer of cars and light trucks in the United States. And now people know it. And we've got hundreds of suppliers in here, as well as three big manufacturers with Ford, Toyota, and GM with the Corvette. And it's a huge part of our economy.
Governor, what do they typically already know about Kentucky, and what is it that they ask you when you make these trips?
Well, it's interesting that some of them obviously know Kentucky, but others may have heard of it. But, you know, when they hear about Kentucky, they may think of the Kentucky Derby or Kentucky Bourbon or Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we get the opportunity to educate them about our great education system, about our great workforce. And you know, that's really what most of these CEOs, that's their top priority. They like incentives and all of the things that we can do for them, but their number one issue always is, do you have the qualified, skilled workforce that can do our job so that we can be successful? And we've been very successful in demonstrating to these companies just what our workforce can do.
Is there urgency in trying to replace some jobs that may be lost through military downsizing at Fort Knox and out at Fort Campbell?
Well, obviously, the economy is always shifting, and we are losing some jobs there. We've lost a lot of jobs in eastern Kentucky with the depression in the coal markets. But overall, Bill, I mean, we're kind of on a roll here in Kentucky. During the depths of the Depression, our unemployment rate hit 10.7%. This last December, it's 5.7%. We've cut it almost in half, and it's continuing to decline. 4 out of the last 5 months, it's declined in every one of 120 counties that we have in Kentucky. So I know that everybody doesn't have the job they want or don't have a job, but boy, we're really moving rapidly to get everybody back to work that needs a job.
Well, while you're in Europe, the General Assembly will be going back into session, and you gave your State of the Commonwealth address early because of this. I remember you mentioned in the speech that because you knew you'd be making the trip that you wanted to address matters early. Is a heroin bill your top priority in this session?
Certainly one of them, and I think it's going to happen. I don't think that either the House or the Senate will leave Frankfurt this time without us adopting a comprehensive attack on this heroin problem. You know, a couple of years ago, we successfully, in a bipartisan manner, attacked the prescription drug abuse problem. And we've made significant progress there with running the pill mills out of the state, having all of our prescribers use our electronic monitoring system, treatment. You know, we've made some great strides. But with this drug epidemic, it's always something else. You know, when you do well on one drug, something else pops up, and that something else now is heroin, and it is deadly, and it's killing people. So I'm positive we're going to pass a bill. It will have stiffer penalties for traffickers in it. It will make naloxone, which is this substance that can reverse the effects of an overdose and save people's lives if it's administered to them in time. We'll make that available to first responders, law enforcement people, you know, people that come upon folks that have just overdosed. And we will, you know, we're going to address a number of these issues and put something on the books that will give us some tools to fight this epidemic.
Is it frustrating from where you sit that, as you said, once one epidemic is contained, that people move on to something else?
Well, it's just the nature of the substance abuse problem. You know, it's always going to be with us. We're never going to completely solve it. And as I said, when you're successful in one area, folks will tend to move on to something else. And so it's just a constant battle, but we got to fight it because, I mean, these are the lives of our kids, our family members. There's probably not a person in this state now that doesn't know somebody, either family member or friend, who's been affected by some kind of substance abuse.
Gasoline prices are down, which is good news for the consumer, but Kentucky's gasoline tax automatically goes down when the wholesale price is down. What is that likely to do to the state road project? We're hearing projections north of $200 million short, maybe?
Well, it could be that the case, and it's not only the money in the state road fund, but a lot of this money split 50-50 with the counties. And so all of our county judges out there in the fiscal courts that keep roads paved, county roads paved, and you know, they help their people there in that county, they're going to come up way short. I mean, the predictions are that next year, if this price keeps dropping and we don't address this in the legislature, they could get 25% less money. And I mean, that's serious business, because these roads, we've got to have good roads for commerce, for getting to and from school and the doctor and shopping and everything else that we have. And you're right, I mean, at the pump, it's a good sign, but we need to make some adjustments so that the state part and the local part of that revenue, you know, doesn't keep falling through the floor. We've got to have some of that money in order to keep our infrastructure up.
Why is something that would seem to be a judgment and need-based, based on the circumstances that would be occurring at a particular time, why is that based on some automatic shift that happens?
Well, it's been this way for some time, that we set up the state share of the gasoline tax based upon, I think it's the average wholesale price of gasoline. And when that went up, you know, then state share went up. But it couldn't go up more than, I think, 10% in any one year. But there wasn't any floor. It could drop as fast as it could drop. And of course, that's just political. You know, instead of paying attention to what we need to keep our roads and our bridges going, you know, everybody's afraid, oh, they'll think I voted for a tax increase, you know, and this isn't a tax increase. It's just preserving what we already have so that we'll be able to keep our infrastructure.
Are you going to recommend to the legislature before they leave Frankfurt this session that they do something on that issue?
I'm pushing hard in both the House and Senate. You know, last year I saw this coming, and so in my budget, I proposed putting the floor there so that we wouldn't have this precipitous drop. And the House of Representatives passed it, but it turned into a political issue. You know, all the House and half the Senate was up for election, so the Senate wouldn't touch it because they thought they'd get accused of it being a tax increase. And so now you've got a political situation because the Democrats in the House stepped up and passed it. The Republicans in the House voted as a bloc against it. for political reasons. And then in the fall, the Democrats got hammered over the head with it in the elections. We won anyway. But now, I mean, you know, the Democrats are kind of looking at the Republicans and saying, look, we've done it. It's your turn. You step up and do it. But I'm trying to get it all together and get past all that.
You've announced a new move to get the Brent Spence Bridge project going in northern Kentucky, that huge span that carries I-75 and I-71 across the Ohio River. You and the Ohio governor appeared together. He says that concrete chunks are falling off the bridge into the river. Tolls have been the sticking point, as you know, Governor, on this project. Is there any getting around that? Will your proposal include tolls?
I think we're going to get the bridge built. I mean, it's going to be a multi-year process, but I just keep pointing them to Louisville. You know, Governor Daniels and I, he's a Republican when he was still governor of Indiana, and I'm a Democrat. But they've been talking about building those new bridges in Louisville for 40 years. And when I came into office, we just sat down and we said, look, let's either do this or quit talking about it. So we came together, we put a plan together. It includes tolling, but that's the only way you're going to build these major infrastructure projects anymore. You know, there's not going to be any manna out of heaven from Washington. Those days are over with in terms of these big checks arriving. And so we got to pay for what we get. And so we're proposing the same kind of approach up in northern Kentucky. Some people want to yell about tolls, but it's basically a user fee. You know, those that use the bridge will help pay for it. And that won't be the only thing. We're going to have state money in it. Ohio will have state money in it. But we're just going to need part of that as a financing mechanism.
And you've proposed a discount for the locals.
Yeah, the frequent users, yeah. And we're going to do that in Louisville. You know, people that are there every day going to and from work and everything, we're going to have a 50% discount on the tolls. In Louisville, we're shooting, we haven't been able to get to the point yet of actually setting the actual toll, but we're shooting for somewhere around $1 or something like that as a frequent user kind of toll. And hopefully it will be something like that up in northern Kentucky.
The Northern Kentucky project is probably, what, a $3 billion, almost $3 billion project?
It's about I think it's about a $1.3 billion project. The Louisville project started out as a $4.3 billion project, and Governor Daniels and I looked at our transportation cabinets and says, you all go back to the drawing board and cut some money out of this. We took that project from $4.3 million to I think $2.6 billion. Sorry, not million, billion. $2.6 billion. We cut that much out of that project. It's going to be just as good, and we've told our folks to do the same thing with Ohio in terms of this Brent Spence Bridge.
As the legislature gets rolling, and we'll talk about some other issues in a minute, but as they get rolling, both sides kind of come with their priority issues, and so you get the Republican priorities of right to work and so forth. You get the Democratic priorities of minimum wage. And then you kind of come in and say, now that those are out of the way, let's talk about some things that can get done. Is that fair to say? I
think that's fair to say. You know, everybody's got their political statements that they want to make, and that's fair. And so, like you said, right at the first of the session, the Republicans in the Senate will pass their political statements, and the Democrats in the House will pass theirs, neither of which are going to go anywhere. You know, and so the thing that I do is get them all together and say, okay, but let's don't get mad at each other. We know that this is the situation. Now let's get together and figure out what we can agree on. And you know, we can agree on a lot. I think we're going to pass the heroin bill. I think we're going to pass a bill on dating violence to give protections to couples in dating relationships. I think we'll pass this public-private partnership legislation that will allow Kentucky for the first time to use public-private partnerships in transportation projects. I'm pushing very hard to update our booster seat law the way all of the states around us do to protect our children more. You know, there are several of those kind of things that I think we'll come together on, and we're going to end up having a productive session.
Governor Steve Beshear is our guest, and we'll ask him several other questions when we come back in just a moment. What about the concern about these pensions in state government? Back with that and more on WKYT. Welcome back. It's good to have you with us on WKYT for Kentucky Newsmakers, and we're honored today to once again have the Governor of the Commonwealth, Steve Beshear, with us today, who actually has left out this weekend on a trip for economic development to Europe. But the state legislature is meeting. They're going to be taking up all kinds of things. One of the things, an interesting issue that has come before lawmakers, Governor, has to do with some sort of regulation of these drones. Now, the Super Bowl is being held this weekend. They're telling people don't bring a drone. One landed at the White House. I mean, this is like suddenly an issue out here because there are not many regulations. Do you anticipate the state government will try to regulate those drones?
Well, probably at some point, maybe. You know, it's such a new thing right now, and I don't think anybody knows where to go yet or whether you should go someplace. But all this new technology comes along and it creates different kinds of issues. And I'm sure they'll start looking at that and be watching as things develop on the national scene as well as in other states. I don't think anything will happen this session on it because I just think it's there's not any consensus on where to go or what to do at this point.
Seems to be some concerns that people feel that they're being spied on, or you know, that their property is invaded, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It you know, every time you get new technology like this out, you know, it raises different issues, and this raises privacy issues.
A lot of concern about the state pension funds. Do you worry about the Kentucky retirement system and the Kentucky teachers retirement system being at some point unable to fund the checks that they're obligated to send out?
Well, let me be clear about this. We've got two different systems. We've got the Kentucky retirement system. That's the major one, the big one that has all the state employees except teachers in it. Then you got the teachers retirement system. The Kentucky retirement system is the one that was in horrible shape. And it got that way over the last 20 years through a combination of things. You know, investments not producing as much as you would have hoped, the government not putting in the employer share as much as they should have, just a number of things like that. And so we brought in 2 years ago now the Pew Foundation, a nationally recognized foundation that works on these issues in all the states. They sat down with a task force. We worked for a year, and they came up with a solution. And they said, you need to do basically two things. Number one, you need to fully fund the employer part of this contribution and quit cutting it and using the money other places. Number two, you need to kind of revise and modernize your benefit package and not make it as rich. We did both of those things. And we just had our first budget session since the recommendations. We fully funded our employer part. The plan is to do that for the rest of, you know, my life and your life and everybody else's life. And if we do that, the actuaries and everybody says, you basically solve the problem. Now, you can't look at it next year and say, oh, wow, you know, it's fully funded. It's not going to be, it's going to take 20 years to get it back up again. But we're on the pathway now to where it's going to be okay. So, you know, you get a few people out here that still want to scream about that one, and I just don't think that's legitimate concern. We're in good shape now on that one because we did the right things. The teachers' retirement system needs some work. It is not as bad off as the big retirement system. It's I've forgotten, maybe 50% funded, whereas the big one was like 20. Mm-hmm. But we need to be looking at that, and we need to start thinking about solutions to that because we don't want it to get in the condition that the other one got in. So there's conversations going on, there's ideas being floated around, and I don't think anything has coalesced yet, but I think everybody is zeroed in on the problem, and I think we'll come up with some approach.
One, of course, approach is a bond issue. Do you support that approach?
Well, that's a possibility, and we just got to look at, if we go in that direction, how much, what does it do to the bonding capacity for the rest of what the state needs to do in the future. So there's just a lot of things to juggle around, but that is one of the solutions being floated.
You've called for a statewide smoking ban. You really went through an evolution on this issue during your tenure in office. When you entered, you had questions about it, and now you've been strongly for it. Republicans have full control of the Senate, and many of them indicate that they want this to continue to be a local issue. Do you believe that will pass?
You know, the way I evolved on this is when I first came in, local governments and local jurisdictions were just starting to adopt these ordinances. And I felt like, let's give this a little time and let's see how this works. And it's worked great. You know, I mean, we now have, I've forgotten, 20 or 30 different cities and counties that have adopted these non-smoking ordinances, smoke-free ordinances. And the business community loves it. And so now we've got 90% of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce members, businesses all over the state, that want a smoke-free law statewide. So I think its time has come, but it's one of these issues it's going to take probably 2 or 3 sessions to get done. I mean, it's an evolution in thinking, just like I went through. And I'm hopeful that maybe we can pass it in the House. I'm very doubtful that we can pass it in the Senate at this point, but that'll be a real step forward if we can get it that far.
Kentucky is behind other states on this dating violence issue. What does the bill that you and the First Lady support say?
It will provide an avenue where if you're in that kind of situation, then that person can go and get basically a civil protective order, similar to the emergency orders that you can get in domestic violence cases. And you know, it's not a total solution to the thing, but it will give people in that kind of situation some protection. And this is a serious problem. There was a study recently where I think it was 14% of high schoolers in Kentucky, high school women, said that they'd been the subject of dating violence. So, and it gets worse when you go to college.
The U.S. Supreme Court will settle the same-sex marriage issue based in part on Kentucky's appeal that you filed when the Attorney General opted not to do that. Do you have an expectation or a hope for the outcome of that decision?
Well, it's where I wanted it to be all along. I said from the start, look, I'm not going to get my personal feelings involved in this, but it is an issue that has to be settled, and settled nationally, so that the rule is the same every place. You know, we don't need to be doing one thing in Kentucky and somebody doing something else someplace else. It just would be a mishmash and confusing situation. So the Supreme Court has taken it. I'm glad they have, and I think it'll get decided about June. It looks like that's the trajectory that it's on. And then Kentucky's going to step up and do whatever the court says. If they rule in favor of same-sex marriage, then Kentucky will institute those rules, and we'll march right on.
Do you like the spreading approach on right to work, that some localities now are moving in and doing that? You know, it's interesting, we have this battle where people want local option if it is something they want done, and they don't want it to be decided locally if it's something that they oppose.
Well, I've looked at the federal law, and it really seems clear to me that local jurisdictions don't have the authority to do this. But now there's a court case that's been filed, so we'll figure that out. But let me say this about this so-called right to work issue. It's a political issue. It really doesn't matter much when it comes to creating business. Look at us. Now, we're not a right to work state, but we got the best of all worlds. I mean, we've got a huge operation with Ford Motor Company, and down in Bowling Green with the Corvette plant. They're unionized because of national contracts, the UAW. We got Toyota, totally non-union, and they're going great guns. You know, you can come into Kentucky and you can be whatever you want to be. If you want to be unionized, you can. If you don't want to be, you don't have to be. People say, well, you know, you get so much protection in other places. And I said, well, down in Tennessee, it's a right to work state. And they got a union plant there with the old Saturn plant where they're making cars. And look what's going on in Chattanooga. You know, there's a lot of union activity trying to organize Volkswagen. You go down to South Carolina, they're a right to work state, and the unions down there trying to organize Boeing. So, you know, having that law on the books doesn't matter one way or the other.
Governor Steve Beshear is our guest here on Kentucky Newsmakers. Our remaining moments in just a bit, we'll talk some politics. This is going to be an interesting year with the statewide elections, and we're back in a moment. Welcome back to Kentucky Newsmakers. We continue to visit with Governor Steve Beshear. You chose Crit Llewellyn to be Lieutenant Governor when Jerry Abramson resigned to take a job at the White House. Is she involved in the day-to-day operations of your office?
Very much involved. You know, she's our staff meetings. She participates in all the decision-making. You know, she's a great person, you know, so highly qualified, and I hated losing Jerry, but it's great to have somebody in the White House that is our person, you know, that we can go to, and then to be able to replace him with Crit Llewellyn, you know, it was really a win-win situation for me.
The filing deadline was this Tuesday, and interesting. What are your observations about the way the tickets appear to be setting up?
Well, I'm excited about our side of the equation. We've got a great candidate for governor in Jack Conway. I think he's going to be the next governor, but we obviously got to go out and get it. And we got a very strong ticket, and it's sort of a generational ticket. It's a bunch of younger people coming along. Jack and his running mate, Sandy Overly, from over here in Paris, running for lieutenant governor. You know, you've got my son Andy.
I was going to say, you're not having trouble with that name,
running for the attorney general. You got Adam Edlin. You've got Ms. Grimes, you know, running back for Secretary of State. And we've got a pretty young person running for Ag Commissioner, and then, you know, there's going to be a primary in the Treasurer's race. So I'm excited. It's going to be a great ticket to run in the fall. The Republicans, looks like they're going to really have a fun time. They got four candidates for governor and lieutenant governor, and I guess that's anybody's guess.
You mentioned your son running for attorney general, the same office that launched your statewide career in politics. Have you advised him that this could very well be a very tough race? They're already questioning that he represents people who have sued state government and that sort of thing.
You know, Andy's been around politics a long time because he's my son, and he's seen how the media are, Bill. So he's well aware that if there's not an issue, the media will make them up because they got to sell papers and they've got to keep people interested. So I can just tell you this, he's a very good lawyer. He cares about people in Kentucky. And when he's Attorney General, you know, the people of this state are going to be his client.
Wendell Ford was remembered this week, and you took part in the ceremony at the Capitol as well as his funeral.
What a fantastic man. And, I mean, he's Mr. Kentucky. And, of course, when you have the Vice President of the United States and former President Clinton coming in to give eulogies at your funeral, that about says it all about Wendell Ford.
Governor Beshear, thank you for being here. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of Kentucky Newsmakers. I'll see you bright and early this week on WKYT This Morning. We start at 4:30. Have a good week ahead.